Oi, gente linda, tudo bem? Hoje estou aqui com um estoniano, ele se chama André. Ele já morou no Brasil e ele escreveu um livro onde ele fala dessa experiência dele morando no Brasil. E eu decidi convidar ele para entrevistar, para conhecer um pouco a história dele, e eu quero também saber um pouco do livro dele. Então, vamos começar. Mas eu vou falar em inglês. Ele fala português, mas ele falou que não o suficiente para fazer a entrevista. Mas vai ter legenda, então é só ligar aqui no YouTube a legenda em português. Ok, então vamos trocar agora para inglês. Ok, André.
Oi, tudo bom?
Opa!
Eu falo pouco, mas é muito difícil para mim para falar em português. É mais fácil para inglês, é?
Ok, muito bom, muito bom. Okay, so could you please do a small introduction? Could you give me some highlights of your life so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've kind of always been, in a way, wandering around the world. As soon as I finished the bachelor's degree, university here in Estonia. So after that, I went to study abroad. And I didn't use any kind of outside sources like the ISEC or something like this, but I went on my own. So I was looking for a place to go, I applied, and then I found a university in Denmark, Aarhus, where I went to study for the master's degree, and then I studied or lived in Denmark for 4.5 years. And during my studies in Denmark, I had the opportunity to move to Australia for 1 year. So I lived in Australia also 1 year. Like I lived there really to the last day of my visa because I really loved Australia. So the last day when my visa got up was the day when I got on the airplane and flew back. And then life took me also to Brazil. I'm an entrepreneur. I have like a lot of different businesses. You can see at the moment I'm talking also in one of my companies, which is actually a salsa dance school. So yeah, in Estonia, the biggest salsa dance school, Casa de Baile, is kind of one of my things that I really love and like to do. And in Brazil, I was also kind of working with or starting a startup company. I lived in Rio de Janeiro as well as São Paulo, 3 years in Rio and half a year and a little bit more in São Paulo. And then, yeah, I've traveled to, I think, 57 countries in the world. So I really love to travel and kind of be in different cultures and kind of see the world.
Wow.
That's about it.
Oh, wow. To be honest, I didn't expect all of this. So for me, it's very, I mean, I have so many questions that I don't even know where to start.
Oh, where to start?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's maybe start with your studies. So what did you study like in Estonia and then in Denmark?
Yeah, I studied business. So in Estonia, I did my bachelor's in international business, and then in Denmark, I did master's in business performance management. So
okay, excellent. Okay,
and that's why I went to entrepreneurship as well. That I kind of studied it, and it's always been my passion.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. But to be honest, I've actually also studied international business here in Brazil, actually. So yeah, we have something else in common. And what did you think of your experience living in Denmark? Like going from Estonia to Denmark, was that a big difference? Like, were there any cultural shocks at all, or was it very similar?
I wouldn't say that I had any cultural shocks, but it was definitely a little bit different. So like when you go around the world, then you see that even your neighboring countries that you think that is just like, I don't know, 100 kilometers over the border, and you are in another country, and you would think that it's probably the same as in Estonia, but actually the cultures are different, even if the small things. And when I moved to Denmark as well, then it was my first time moving away from parents' home as well, so I really jumped really into my own life, moving away from parents and right away to another country. So it was very interesting experience.
Okay, my stepdad is actually from Denmark, so I kind of know the Danish culture a little bit. And what I've actually noticed, at least from my mother and my stepdad, is that my stepdad is super optimistic, like so positive, and my mother is more like pessimistic, not like super pessimistic, but she's a bit more realistic, maybe. Not that my stepdad isn't, but there is a difference. Like I see, because when you were born in the Soviet Union, you are a little bit more suspicious of life, like you do have your doubts, but when you're born in Denmark, I think you just see life in a more positive and happy way. I don't know if you noticed anything like that.
Yeah, like people in kind of societies which are not so closed, they are more happier and more positive and have like positive outlook for the life, right?
Yes.
And actually one thing, because when I went to Denmark, then I think Estonia had been free from Soviet Union about what year did I go? I think I went 98, so it's like less than 10 years. So one thing that like when Estonia got free from Soviet Union, then it was kind of every man for himself, and there was not so many rules and regulations, right? So, and people were kind of always trying to, I don't know, like I could say like the people were trying to do like this jeitinho brasileiro thing, right?
Oh,
Which is
okay.
and when I moved to Denmark, then in Denmark everything was like so regulated and so kind of so see-through. So for me it was in the beginning, I think this was the biggest difference maybe even that I saw, that everything was like too much regulated, and I was kind of missing the Estonian way of like looking more openly through the different kind of laws and things.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so from Denmark, you said you went to Australia, and what did you do in Australia?
So it was actually funny. There was while I was studying in Denmark for the master's degree, then in Danish schools it's very popular to send the students for the third semester away from Denmark. So our university as well, they had program of whoever wants to go to some other countries, they could go, and they had to go like through this like a process of applying for the places, and then the top grades would get the best places and so on. And Australia, of course, was one of the most popular places where everyone would have wanted to go. And my grades were actually not the best in the school, so I was not sure if I could make it. But I heard so many people who had like really top grades, they were kind of indecisive, or they were like, but maybe I should not try to apply for Australia because like there's going to be so big competition that I would maybe I would not get it, and then I will not get my best choice and so on. So I thought like, why not? I will just go for it and see what happens. And I applied, and I got the place in Sydney in Macquarie University, and
Wow.
I did one semester there.
Wow! So the risk paid off. The risk paid off, yeah.
Yeah, the risk paid off.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I didn't have any money to go there, so I got the place, but I had to start looking for money to actually, you know, fund my trip there and to pay for the education and so on. So it was
wow. Okay, you're very resourceful. can
Could
understand.
say that.
Yeah, definitely. And so how was your life in Australia then? Like, can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, Australia was really fun. So yeah, like again in Australia as well, I think it's kind of my thing that I usually don't get the culture shock very easily. Like although Australia was much more different from Estonia than Denmark is, then I didn't have like a big shock, or I didn't have what you call it, the homesickness, right? So yeah, like it was all fun, and I studied for the 1 semester, but since my visa was for 1 year, then I decided to stay there as long as I could. And right after school, I started to work to gather some money, and then I went for like the coast trip of Australia. So rented a car, did the coast trip, went to New Zealand, and kind of traveled around there. And it was definitely like a really nice time there.
Wow, okay. And I think that there are so many Estonians in Australia. I don't know if at the time there were as well, but were there a lot of Estonians that you met? Yeah.
Yes, kind of myself. I like to, when I travel or when I live in some other countries, then I try to keep away from Estonians actually,
Okay.
because I want to immerse myself in another country or a culture. And like some people like to travel or live, if they live in another country, then they kind of try to find the groups of their fellow citizens, like other Estonians, and then like all the life revolves like around other Estonians. But I always try to find like new cultures, new people.
And so how did Brazil happen?
Brazil,
Yes.
kind of, yeah, it's actually it's a correct question to say how it happened, because I never had any plan going to Brazil, but then one of our businesses that we were doing in the US was kind of like seemed like a good fit for the Brazilian market as well. And at the time, it was 2012 when we first started thinking about Brazil. Then the Brazilian economy was booming. It was getting to be the 5th largest economy in the world. The kind of the people from the poor class were slowly going to the middle class. The market was huge, 205 million people. So it really seemed like a great place to go. And then we kind of slowly started to kind of look at the market. We visited Brazil many times. And then finally, we got to a point where we had to decide, like, okay, do we go or wouldn't we go? And we decided to go.
Okay, but now the question is, a US company was you were in the US as well, or it was a remote company, or
it was a company based in Estonia, but we were offering service to the US market. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And okay, so in the end you decided to then go to Brazil to open an office in Brazil. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I moved there together with my girlfriend.
Okay. Where is your girlfriend from?
Estonia. But the interesting thing is that she looks much more local in Brazil than she does in Estonia. She really looks like a Latina, and like on the streets, everyone thought that she was local, and I was, of course, always the obvious gringo. And in Estonia, everyone is asking from her that, oh, you're not Estonian.
Yeah, because before our interview, I actually looked at some of your photos, and I saw her, and I was so sure she was Brazilian, like Estonian, and I was looking at her, and I was like, no, definitely Brazilian. So I actually even wanted to ask about, how is it to be in an intercultural relationship. That was my plan, and now you're telling me she's Estonian.
Sorry to ruin it.
Oh my God. Okay, so you guys, the two of you moved to Brazil, and how was this experience for you guys? Tell me a little bit more about that. So first it was Rio de Janeiro and then São Paulo.
Yeah. Well, it was a great experience. It was not always easy. There was like a lot of challenges on the road. Like, you know, if you start a startup company, this brings like a lot of like unknown situation, and you're always kind of alert, and one time here, one day here, and also the cultural difference between Estonia and Brazil, of course, is much more different than Denmark or even Australia. But really, I think the main thing about like when you are moving abroad to whichever country you are moving, then like how much fun you're going to have always depends on your expectations and on your mindset, right? So if you are expecting something, then like 100% the things abroad are going in a different way what you expected. So it's best to kind of let go of all your expectations and then just go with the flow, because then you can enjoy any situation in any country. And another thing is kind of the belief system, that the beliefs that you have. Like, for example, I don't know, as an Estonian, I can tell about one thing. When we started the company there, then I had to kind of go through a process of vetting, which included like a Brazilian psychologist calling me to kind of make like a profile and if everything is okay. And then I talked with this psychologist for 1.5 hours. I was talking about myself, and he was asking questions. And in the end of the interview, he said that, okay, I've never talked to anyone for 1.5 hours and knowing so little about them. So wow. I was like really closed up, as Estonians tend to be. And in this sense, now when I look back at this time, now I'm writing a book about the Brazilian experience. I'm writing like really open-heartedly, which is something that really I learned to do in Brazil, seeing like all these open people and kind of seeing that you don't have to be afraid to show your feelings and something like this that Estonians are really afraid of, actually.
Okay, that actually raises a lot of questions as well. So you would say that the country that most changed you as a person is Brazil then? Or
yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually it's the same in my case. Like I've lived in other countries before, but Brazil has really changed me massively as a person. So I can definitely relate to that. And now a very important question for myself. How is it to live in Estonia now after so many international experiences? I literally cannot even picture living in Estonia. So how does it feel? Like, what are the differences? And tell me more about that.
So one thing that expats are always talking about is the culture shock of going to another country, right? But what is not talked so much about is the culture shock that you're actually experiencing when you come back to your own country. And for me, this has always been the biggest thing, actually, because like, you know, you've been brought up in this culture, and you have all your friends and family here, and then you move away. They are living their lives in the same culture, staying everything the same, and then you are in some other country, learning new ways, new things, new culture, and then you come back and you have changed, you are different, and you are meeting the same friends whom you knew before, but you feel that like something is different, or you are thinking a little bit differently. And yeah, this kind of creates a little bit of culture shock. And but at the same time, also when living abroad in other countries and coming back home, then you really start to appreciate a lot of the things about your home. So things that seemed like so obvious and so kind of everyday things, after living in Brazil, coming back, I was like something, wow, something can be really so easy. Probably you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. Like, for example, bureaucracy, all of that. I mean, in Estonia, it's pretty much non-existent. They're like,
Yes.
yeah. And the salsa studio, like, what are your businesses today, like nowadays? Like, what do you do for a living? Because you said this salsa studio is one of your businesses. So tell me about your businesses.
I have a few things. The salsa studio. Then I have a IT company. We do websites, e-shops, e-commerce. Then I have like an online education company where we are teaching kind of mindfulness-based view of life for companies, not for private people, but for companies, so that people could handle better the work stresses and also cross-cultural differences and all these kind of things.
Okay, very interesting. And do you dance salsa? Like, are you the teacher, or do you just?
Yes, I myself one of the teachers as well. Yeah.
Wow. And where did you learn it? Like, what's the story?
It's a funny story. It kind of started on my friend's dog's birthday. So
Okay.
my friend's dog had a birthday, and we needed a kind of occasion to celebrate, right? So we went out for some beers, some drinks, and we ended up in Tallinn in one of the bars, which was called Havana Club in the old town of Tallinn. And in there was actually going on a salsa party. And we had never danced with my friend anything before, and we were kind of just looking like, wow, people can dance so nicely. Like, maybe we should learn to dance as well. And then we went to the girls, asking them to show us some moves, and then kind of where can we learn it, and so on. And the girls told us that, okay, right now there's some really cool Cuban teachers in Estonia, and tomorrow are going to be the practices. Tomorrow is Saturday, come to the practices. So we take the address. The next day we drive to the practice, but both of our heads are so aching because we had too many beers. So we were looking at each other like, no, let's not do this today. And we drove away. But then kind of the idea got stuck in our heads, and I think the next week already we looked up the classes and we started to learn. And I think this was 2000 and maybe 2001, I guess.
Oh,
something
wow.
like this.
It's
So a long
been
time
a long
ago.
time. Okay. And then how did you end up teaching it?
Well, this was like, I never thought this would happen to me, that I'm going to be a dance teacher or owning a dance school. But then there was one competition in Estonia which was organized for like Latin street dances, and I managed to somehow to win it as a couple and as a group as well. So after this, people started to ask me to come to teach or come to perform or something like this. And then, because of my business background, obviously, I thought like, okay, so if people are already asking, so why not start a school? And that's how it went.
Oh.
And Casa de Baile, the school, is already 14 years old, I think. Yeah. So.
14 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Amazing. Okay, I'm not going to keep you here for very long, but I do want to hear a bit more about your book. Can you give me some juicy details about the book? Like, why would we buy it? Why would we read it? Like, what can we expect from it?
So yeah, I'm writing a book about how to become the best self you can be while living abroad, because like I've lived in these 3 different countries, and I've traveled so much, and like during this time I've learned a lot of things, and I never thought of sharing these things, but as I said, Brazil was actually the place that changed me to be more open and kind of And when I moved to Brazil, then I actually started keeping a journal every day, that what had happened during the days, because I was kind of already pre-planning that maybe there would be something interesting coming out of it. And when I came back home, then I decided to write a book about, it's based on my Brazilian experience, but it kind of talks about the neuroscience and the psychology and kind of the mindfulness and all of these sides to show how people can kind of enjoy their time abroad. Because I have always done that, I know how to do it, and I really want others to do it as well. Because like when I was traveling there, I saw so many expats who were really struggling, who were homesick, and they were not living their best lives. But there are ways how to really enjoy your life, however challenging it is. So like these are the things I really want to convey with the book.
Excellent.
I've been writing the book every morning during this COVID time, and then suddenly, actually like I think 5 days ago, I realized that how can I write the book about traveling and kind of getting over your fears if I haven't traveled during the COVID time. So, so I decided to buy plane tickets to Spain. And next Sunday, actually, I'm flying out to Spain to kind of make the book, or kind of to make like a second draft of the book, or to make it better, right? And I'm going to be traveling, and I'm going to be writing the book, and I'm also going to be kind of sending everyday live pictures and things that happen on the road on my Facebook page, like the book's Facebook page. So you can add this one, for example.
Okay, excellent. I will add the link to that. And a question I still have is the book in English?
Yes, it's in English.
Okay, in English. And is there going to be a Portuguese translation in the future?
If the book is going to be popular, then sure.
Okay, excellent.
I'm open to that.
Crossing my fingers.
Maybe an Estonian translation.
Oh, okay, lovely. Very nice. Okay, well, that's it for this interview, this talk. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me, and I wish you all the best on everything you do.
Thank you. It was very nice talking to you, and really, really interesting questions.
E muito obrigada, meus inscritos, por terem assistido. Até o próximo vídeo. Tchau, tchau.
Ciao.